is up, guys, and welcome back to another video today on the GTI. We're going to talk today, just kind of a cool little evening chat outside my house today with the car. So we're going to talk about kind of something that I've been thinking about doing, and then I'm also going to talk about some stuff that I've kind of got in the very near future when we start buying, and talk about some cool stuff going on with this car. And of course, we're mainly going to, this video is mainly going to focus on something I've been thinking about, and I kind of want opinions on it. And people hopefully who have done this before will be able to tell me, give me advice on what's the right thing to do here, and we can hopefully be able to figure that out. So topic of today's video is of course my 2017 GTI. This is a current IS20 stage 2 car, makes about 330 wheel horsepower and 407 pound-feet of torque. According to HPA's website, this car has not been verified on an actual dyno, but it does make really fun noises, really fun turbo noises, and you know, it's a blast to drive this time of year when you aren't having wastegate actuator trouble like I am right now. Just unfortunately, I've been bitten by that bug. I've avoided the water pump, but I've been bit by the wastegate actuator issue instead. So today's video is speaking of turbos. So we're going to be talking about turbos today, and something that I've been debating about doing. The title of this video probably gives away what I've been thinking about, but I just want to talk about it with you guys and garner opinions, and of course figure out if it's really something I want to do. So I have been thinking about going IS38 on this car. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with the MQB platform, IHI is the manufacturer of turbos. They replaced Borg-Warner, who made the factory turbos for the Mark 6 and back. The 4, 5, and 6 were all running KO3s, I believe. It was very common to go KO4 on those older cars, because it, in a lot of ways, was similar to going to an IS38 on a Mark 7. So the Golf lineup, and I believe the Jetta as well, all came with different turbos. The 1.8 Golfs came with the 1.8 turbo engine, of course. I don't know the engine code on that like I do the 2.0s, obviously. But they came with an IHI IS12 turbo. You bump up to the GTI, which got you the 2-liter, but it also gave you the IS20, which is the middle ground turbo. And then, of course, you bump up to a Golf R or like an Audi S3 or something like that. You do get the IHI IS38 turbo. And it's very common for people who own the 1.8 or the GTI models to go up to an IS38. I know someone personally who has a 1.8 Sport Wagon that has done the IS38, and he makes some really good power for the 1.8, so I'm really impressed with it. That just shows the 1.8 also has stuff on the table. The new 1.8. I mean, obviously we already knew the Mark 4 1.8s had a lot on the table, but these new 1.8s are also really solid. So what in the world has gotten in my head that I need to get an IS38? Because I love this powertrain. I love how the torque hits. I love how low it hits. It suits my driving style well. I am well known for being a 0 to 60 kind of guy. I don't really push the car. I don't go terribly fast on the streets. I mean, one, I work for the state effectively, and two, I'm not really keen on being known as the guy that's known for weaving in and out of traffic going 110 on the interstate. You know, I don't want to be known for being that guy. So my driving style is pretty much 0 to 60 pulls, and you know, obviously the IS20 works great for that because it is smaller and it just hits really hard down low. But the issue is reliability is something I want, and I do want to squeeze a tiny bit more power. I don't really want to hit 400 wheel, and I know that's probably going to be a little bit jarring to some people who know these cars and know how easy it is to hit 400 wheel horsepower on a GTI, especially a Mark 7. It's not something I want to do with this car. This car is, at the end of the day, a daily driver, and is going to be mostly focused on mountain roads. And so if I do go IS38, it'll be a pretty docile tune. Of course, it'll remain on pump gas. I'm not going 85 or anything like that. I'm not going forward injection. I don't need any of that. The car is really going to remain a pump gas car. It's going to be something I can just get in and go. Now, I'm currently thinking of two different options. I've got HPA's OEM Plus Turbo and EQT's IS38 Plus. Now, the reason I'm between those two turbos, one, the HPA. This car is already tuned by HPA, so it would be nothing more than just buying the turbo and then buying the tune file itself and bumping up. I've already got the spark plugs they like. It's already got an intake and a downpipe ready to go. The only thing holding me back is this car does still rock the stock intercooler, which is a bit of a problem when you're wanting to push good power out of one of these. Unfortunately, it is something I plan on getting replaced in the future. It's a bit of a hassle to do, which is why I haven't done it yet. And I'm really torn between getting HPA's intercooler, or I believe it was CTS's I can't remember which one it was I was looking at recently, but I am going to go the direct fit at route. I'm not going to go with a twin intercooler kind of setup that people run. They get a front mount that goes where a typical front mount would go, but also still have the stock intercooler. Just seems like a lot of work, and it doesn't really seem like it's going to really give me any performance gains. In fact, I've been reading people are actually getting worse performance out of that setup. I mean, obviously their IETs are dropping, which is great, but for some reason their car doesn't drive the same. And I'm trying to keep the driving experience as close to an OEM feel as possible, which is why I haven't done it yet, because direct fit intercoolers are very expensive, and you need hood space, you need latch spacers for the hood and all that crap, and stuff I haven't gotten around to doing yet. But if I do go IS38, I'm really between those two. And the reason EQT comes in the equation, despite the fact that this car is already tuned by HPA, and I would have to go buy an access port, which is expensive, it's $750 through them, and I can't find a used one anywhere, which is surprising considering how many people caught burned with their Project Green Speed stuff. The EQT Turbo will allow me to run the tune without having to go back to stock to pass emissions. And if you remember, I did a video recently called what to know before you go stage 2 on your GTI. And I talked briefly about emissions. HPA being a company that's based outside of the US, they can get away with turning off check engine lights for our cars. The issue comes though, is that your car will not pass an OBD test if you have the tune on, because of the fact that it turns off so many codes, especially if you understand it's a bit more restrictive than Georgia. You're allowed 1 unready code in Georgia, and this car was showing 2 because of the tune. Now, if you have a stock tune, you're fine, and you're on an IS20 turbo already in your GTI or a factory IS12 under 1.8, you're fine. The moment though you upgrade, you will not be able to do that anymore. You will fail the OBD test every time, unless you just know somebody and they pass you regardless, which unfortunately for me, I don't have that outlet, and it's really not something I would really like to go about anyway, because I like to be legal. So I know, call me a goody two shoes, guys, it's fine. Anyway, EQT will give me that option because Project Green Speed remove the ability to turn off check engine lights, so I will have to drive it pretty much just like any other stock GTI with a downpipe and figure things out. Now, of course, this car is catted, so it's a lot less things to worry about, but it is something that's on my mind, and it's something I had to figure out when flashing the car back to stock tune. Because you cannot drive a IS38 GTI on a stock tune. It's just a terrible idea. You will blow it up, and then instead of being out $1,000 for your turbo, you're gonna be out $8,000 to replace the A888 motor, because it is not cheap to replace, as I found out. It's not a fun thing to deal with, but that's kind of where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think and give me some guidance on this for those who have owned these cars for a while or have gone IS38, kind of how your driving experience has been, your reliability, which I mentioned earlier and I'll kind of gloss over because it's already been 8 minutes into this video. The factory IHI turbos have really bad thrust bearing issues and oil starvation issues. So that's why I want to get either HPA's or EQT's IS38, is they're already bulletproof from that aspect, and it'll be fine. And so that's why I was looking at that, because I know it is significantly cheaper to just go and buy an IHI turbo from Shop Dap or buy a used IS38 turbo from a blown up Golf R. Someone who's already upgraded their Golf R's turbo. But for me, I want to just do things right the first time and not have to worry about it breaking ever again. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I also need to get my wastegate adjusted anyway on my IS20, so that is something I have to deal with. But anyway, that's it on the turbo. Let's talk about near future stuff. I have a part on the way for this car that I have not posted about anywhere. I'm keeping it kind of a secret because pretty much only a couple people know, but even my closest friends have no idea what I've bought. Now, it is kind of, it's a visual mod, I will say that. It's nothing crazy in terms of performance or nothing, because I'm kind of at a, you know, kind of hit a wall with doing performance mods in this car, because there really isn't much more I can do outside of doing a catch can and intercooler, which the catch can is something I should have done from the onset, and I don't know why I've waited this long to do it. But I have gotten a new cosmetic mod for this car, and I'm not going to reveal what it is just yet until after my friends see it. But it is something that I've wanted to do to this car essentially since I bought it, and you guys will see in due course. And I'm keeping the secret from you guys because obviously if I say it in video, my friends are going to know, and I'm trying to keep it a secret from them, so they aren't going to know just yet. Outside of that, we are looking into getting coilovers for this car, as well as doing some suspension mods. I want this car to pretty much be the ultimate daily driver canyon carving vehicle. Take back the tail of the dragon and drive it like it's nobody's business. This car, I want this car to be pretty much unstoppably good at handling, and GTIs are already well known for being a really good handling front-wheel drive car, which is something that in my head doesn't make sense because, you know, I grew up around, you know, demographic, oh, front-wheel drive sucks, front-wheel drive can't handle, but this car already shocked me when I was up at Tail of the Dragon how good it handled. Now keep in mind, I do not have the performance pack, so I do not have the ELSD on this car, and I'm stock suspension, so obviously you would think that means I don't know what I'm talking about, but the car did really good, and I didn't have these tires on as well. So I was running stock wheels and all that stuff. You guys can go watch that video. I love that video. It's my favorite video I've made this year by far. Excuse me. And I had a really good time with it. So coilovers, of course, I was looking at going to either Fortunato or Öhlins, but I'm probably actually going to go with Bilstein now. The reason I'm choosing to go with Bilstein is one, cost, because the issue I had going Fortunato or Öhlins is they cost a fortune, and this car may see 1 or 2 track days the entirety of its lifetime. I have zero intention to make this a full-on track car. I intend to buy another car that will be a track car that'll pretty much be more aggressive. It'll have full suspension builds, custom everything. This car, I'm really just kind of focusing on doing the basics and making it as good of a handling car as I can without going crazy and putting it on track suspension, this being impossible to enjoy on the street. In fact, we aren't even going to be lowering it that much with the coilovers. I'm probably going to lower it enough to make a difference, but it's not going to be dropped on the ground by any means. It's not going to be very low at all. But I'm going to go Bilstein because they're a little bit more affordable. Michael has them on his Speed 3. For those who don't know my friends, my friend Michael has a Speed 3 that's on Bilsteins, and it rides flawless. I love how that car rides. And then we're going to do either a new speed or 034 sway bar in the back. More than likely new speed for the sway bar, but everything else is going 034 in this car. As you guys can see, I like 034. They tuned my DSG on this car, and it's fantastic. I know a lot of people don't like their DSG tune because it doesn't change a lot, but that was fine with me because it changed what I needed. So doing all that would be great. And I'm also going to do brakes on this car because it needs it. As you guys can see, my front rotors are wrecked. Now, I bought this car like this, and I'm sure my Tail of the Dragon trip did not help, as I'm sure that really just ruined the rest of these rotors because these rotors are fried on the front. And it's got good pads on it. The pads are still relatively good, which is what's kind of concerning is whoever owned this car before me swapped the pads out but left these destructed rotors on this car. The back rotors are fine. They look like they may have been turned or replaced at some point. You see a little bit of grooving on this one, but it's not terrible. But I do want to upgrade to slotted rotors and get UBC red stuffs on this car. I know the red stuff is not as aggressive as the yellow stuff pads, but I wanted one that was still decently aggressive, but didn't want something that was going to squeak occasionally. I know people who have yellow stuffs are probably cringing at me saying they squeak, but I don't need super aggressive pads. I just kind of need something that will stop the car a little bit harder than the factory setup, even though the factory brakes are more than fine on this car. But I do want to upgrade them. If I'm gonna take the time to replace the rotors, I might as well upgrade them. I'm not going Macan brakes up front. I know a lot of people are probably gonna hate that, but it's just, again, this car is not gonna see much track use, if at all. This car is mostly gonna be meant for going up to Blood Mountain, Tail of the Dragon, Skyway, stuff like that. It's not really meant for dealing with full-on track stuff. At least for me, I'm not building mine to do that. And at some point, we are gonna wrap this car. My issue is I love the black. I think it looks great, but it's a nightmare to keep clean. And I mean that, it is a serious nightmare to keep clean. This car is a nightmare to keep clean. It's not like, I know on camera it looks great right now, but I'm seeing so many dirt spots and stuff right now that it's driving me up a wall. And if I wrap the car, that's not gonna happen. Now, unlike the Sport Track, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the color. We're gonna be wrapping this car yellow. And the reason for that is twofold. My dad's not here, so I can talk about this. It's meant to be, one, because I like the color yellow on Volkswagens or Porsches or anything like that. Those two brands in particular have just always been, and when I think of them, yellow. BMW's the same way. I see a lot of BMWs in my head and they're yellow to me. And so we're gonna wrap this car yellow because I just think German cars pull off yellow. It's a color that GTIs were not sold in, I don't believe. I know the Spectrum Golf Rs were yellow. There was a couple that were yellow. But in terms of GTIs, they weren't yellow. I don't remember ever seeing a Mark 7 yellow. I know obviously the Mark 4, the 25th anniversary was yellow. So, and I believe there was a couple of models of the Mark 5 you could get in yellow as well. But I don't know for sure on that. I have to look into it again. But as far as the Mark 7 goes, it was never sold in yellow. So the idea is to do something that'll be kind of unique. It'll stand out a little bit. Now there's a couple of already yellow wrap Mark 7s online, but this will be another one to add to that. The other reason is because my dad. So my dad, all of his Volkswagens he ever owned, he had four Three of the four were yellow. He had 2 bugs that were yellow, and he had a Carmen Ghia that was yellow. I think it may have been his, no, one of his bugs was yellow. He had a yellow Carmen Ghia, and he had a yellow squareback, but he did not have his 4th one, which was another bug, was gray. So that's the reason we're doing yellow in this car. It's a unique color to Mark 7s. There weren't many, if at all, GTIs that were yellow, as well as just kind of a familial tie. The red accents are going to stay because I just think that's a trademark GTI thing. If we had a Golf R, I'd probably make them a different color, but because I don't like chrome, I know, go ahead and flame me for the fact my wheels are chrome. But when we wrap it, I'll more than likely will get a carbon hood for this car, as well as carbon mirror caps, because I like carbon fiber, and the reason I haven't gotten carbon on this car is because it's a black car, and in my head, putting carbon on a black car just looks dumb, but that's just my opinion. But anyway, I've pretty much hogged you guys' time for long enough. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content coming soon on the car. We got a lot of stuff planned coming up for this car. We are going to be planning on taking this car to Wookiees in the Woods next year, so I pretty much got till April to get this car completely dialed in cosmetically and performance-wise. If I don't get the sway bar in by then, it's no big deal, but I would like to have it in. But I mainly want to get the cosmetic side done. I want to get the wrap done. I want to get, you know, all of the cosmetic bits I want to do done, and of course I want to get a catch can, because I've learned very much so that is something that's necessary in these cars. And obviously when I get my wastegate actuator tuned up. But also, if you guys know anything about IS38s and daily driving and just kind of figuring out a good balancing act, EQT's turbo setup on their IS38 tune thankfully is fairly docile. It's like 380 wheel or something like that, 360 wheel and 380 torque, so it's a lot more docile than you know, like going with a Vortex or something like that, and it will not punch that 400 horsepower mark, which is perfect for me because that's not what I want. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day, guys. With